Welcome to Fighters Drinking Coffee. We're here with Asim Fayyaz, the owner and head trainer of NoVa Barbell Club in Chantilly, Virginia. He actually specializes in athletes, specifically grappling athletes. And some of them are some pretty high-level guys you might recognize the names of, but we'll get into that. Thank you for being here with us today.
Appreciate you guys for having me, man. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. I guess let's start with the story of NoVa Barbell. I think that's probably a good place to start off, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So NoVa Barbell was originally probably like more than 15 years ago, as a club that lifters. Where I grew up in high school, it was a garage gym, and we had a bunch of lifters that would come by. They'd come and lift, and the way you got your gym membership was you would just donate something, whether it was like a marker, a barbell, it didn't matter. You just have to give us something so then you could train there full time. We lifted before school and after school. And then after school, after I graduated high school, got introduced into the industry, started working under a supplement company where I also did nutrition for Fairfax County high schools. After that, I got into the PT world. And then in tandem with that, got introduced to jiu-jitsu and got an opportunity to open up a small little wing on the side of a gym out in Chantilly. Silverback Academy was the name at the time, changed to Ascend. And I started working with athletes there, really wanted to spam and learn more about training jiu-jitsu, so I took on a bunch of free clients up front. So my first few years, I just did a lot of free training, just to get as much volume as possible. Fast forward, we're almost 13 years later, and that's been my number one specialty since, is grapplers. And now we're entering into the MMA world because we got some MMA coaches under us, but jiu-jitsu and grapplers has been our main focus, yeah.
Nice, man. So you kind of already went over is there something that you do differently with, it seems like you started out with those grappling athletes, but is there a way that are you now doing athletes that aren't grapplers or people who aren't athletes at all?
Yeah. So obviously, the grappling world is still young and the population isn't that big yet. Yeah. So what keeps the lights on is everyone else that's on the general fitness journey of trying to lose weight, etc. Other competitive background for me is I was also a competitive powerlifter. And then some other trainers were also really high-level competitive powerlifters as well, and they dualed it with jiu-jitsu. So we do have a competitive powerlifting team, and we're slowly building it up. It's still in the novice phases. We compete probably 3 or 4 times a year as a team, and then we host 2 in-house tournaments a year, or in-house competitions a year that are free to anyone who wants to join, just to learn how to get the experience of meet day, how meet would go, etc. So yeah, we deal with a lot of powerlifters. We have a lot of people trying to lose weight, a lot of weight loss, a lot of general fitness, and then somehow, some way, I think because of jiu-jitsu, I've become the pain management guy. Backs and knees, So
can I ask you a question, man? Like, what does a powerlifting competition look like? Like, how does that work?
Yes. So powerlifting would be like saying NFL, right? So it's the organization of itself. It's a sport. And the meet, it's generally about 2 to 4 hours, depending on the size of the meet. But you're competing in squat, bench, and deadlift. You get 3 attempts at each to put up the highest number you can possibly put up, essentially making something called a total, which is all 3 added up. You're broken up into weight class, age division, and then also if there's any like impairments, like you're an amputee, you're injured, etc., stuff like that. But generally, powerlifting is weight, age, and then your division. So,
okay. And you're trying to stack a deadlift, a squat, and a bench as heavy as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So do you get to so you have 3 official reps, right? That they're counting that.
They'll count the highest of each. So you have to be able to post up one. So how it used to be is if you couldn't put up one and you failed all 3 attempts of a singular lift, you were just DQ'd. They've changed that now. So they allow people to compete all the way through because you paid to be there.
Yeah.
But you won't post up a total. So they'll take your highest number from each, and then they'll put those together, and then based on that, in relation to your weight, they'll give your body weight. They'll give you something called a dot score. Essentially, it's a ratio, and it's right now it's the only current fair way to compare a heavy lifter to a light lifter based on ratio lifted.
To kind of give you a pound per pound.
Yeah, essentially telling you who is the best lifter there.
Right.
So dot score. So at our gym, we have something called the Strong AF Club. Strong AF means a couple things. First, it's my initials.
Yeah.
Second, obviously, what it means it's strong as fuck, right?
Yep.
Can I curse on
Yeah,
this?
definitely.
We got the explicit.
As long as it's tastefully done.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
You can just spam like fuck. Even though I just did, it's not gonna. That's okay.
It's an example. It's fine.
Just you use it when you use it correctly, which you did.
Yeah.
It's an
Anyways,
exclamation.
you were saying, man. Strong AF. You were saying.
Yeah, so then and then it's a club. So essentially, once you enter into that and you get invited into it, it's kind of like Knox, that combative club. Once you get invited into it, you get a bunch of free swag, and then down the line, we're looking at discounts and added value to those members as our gym grows. But it's based on your dot score, so that way anyone has a fair chance of hitting it, and the dot score is high enough that the average person isn't just going to walk in and hit it.
It's a challenge.
You have to work for it, but it would be the equivalent, I would say, of like 4-stripe blue or getting to your purple belt.
Like pretty dangerous.
Yeah, pretty dangerous, but like you're not winning records.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, can I ask you, for those sorts of things, is it like your bench should be 1.5, and I'm just 1.5 body
yes,
weight,
I
or your
get this
deadlift should be 2
Yeah.
whatever?
I get this question so many times. No, so generally speaking, if you Google how strong should I be, it's going to say 2 times your body weight
Yeah.
squat, 1.5 times your body weight deadlift, bench press, and like 2.5 to 3 times your body weight deadlift. The issue is at 150, that's a way different number than at 300.
Right.
So that's why I think the dot score is so important, because 3 times your body weight at 300 is way different than 3 times your body weight at 150.
Yeah.
So I think the ratio should adjust per the individual size.
Interesting.
Because a lighter lifter is generally going to have a much higher deadlift, but not as high of a bench press. Whereas a heavier lifter is probably going to have a heavier bench press.
We had one, like a top ranked. Our strength coach in high school was I think he was like 3rd in the country or something. He was top 10 for raw, and he would have us. He had that on we had like the board and like the 700-pound club, which is kind of what they expected the smaller guys to do, and then they had the 1,000-pound club. Yeah. So like.
Yeah, so we do something very similar. So in our gym, we have a board. At our old facility, we moved to this new spot last April. We had a whiteboard up, and then when we moved, we decided not to put it up. And after a lot of grumbles for like 6 months, we decided just to bring it back. So we have it up on the board. You just have to do the numbers in our gym for you to go up there. And I think probably like 60% of that board is grapplers. Because they're a highly competitive group, and they love number chasing when they can.
I'm going to go for it, dude.
Oh, for sure.
I'm going for it.
Scott's going for it tomorrow.
Yeah, so then in there we have like the 650 club for women and the 1,000-pound club for men. And if you hit those numbers, you get a certificate, handwritten, stamped and sealed, a big plaque, and a photo. So that's pretty cool. We try to like really memorialize it, because the issue in the strength world and lifting world that jiu-jitsu has going for it that we don't is you guys have immediate ways to show someone they're progressing. It's a piece of tape. It's cheap as hell. But that one little piece of tape means a lot to somebody, right? And those accolades can be recognized by those stripes and then the color of the fabric of the belt, right? In lifting, it's really just numbers on the board. But as those numbers climb, they come, as you guys know, if you've been lifting for a while, it doesn't come as quickly. When you start, everything comes fast. Yeah. Then as things get slower and slower, so we try to find ways to keep people engaged and excited and have always little mini accolades they can work towards, kind of like achievements in a video game. You have the main campaign you're going for, but there's always a side quest that kind of help you get those dopamine hits to stay on track. So I was trying to find a way to bring what I saw in the jiu-jitsu world into the lifting world to kind of mimic that, if you will.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I got a question. So, like, dude, without spilling the secret sauce too much, I'm curious if you can, like, speak to what about your, let's just call it, like, general, it's like lifting or strength for grapplers.
Yes.
I'm sure there's, like a proper brand for that or product name, but, like, I'm curious, I guess, one, what are you calling it so I get that accurate?
Strength and conditioning for grapplers.
There you go, strength and conditioning for grapplers. And then, two, like, what makes it for grapplers?
So,
like different for like your powerlifters or general athletes or whatever.
Perfect. So the first thing someone asked me this like 2 weeks ago. They were like, what makes you different? And I told them I'm not going to put you, I think I actually said this to you on the phone. Yeah. I'm not going to teach you how to put your leg behind your head, nor am I going to decrease your 40 time. But what I am going to do is help you build a suit of armor that's going to make you feel great on the mat and resilient. Injuries are inevitable in a sport where the objective is to joint manipulate and or strangle your opponent. So injuries are going to happen, especially when you got late tappers. So our objective is to create resilience in those individuals so we can minimize damage from the inevitable injuries and or make it less likely to happen. Also, when you feel good and you look good and you are imposing, it definitely helps on the mat, especially in the era of no-gi right now. And I think having a high strength ceiling and high potential, so like your cardio brings your floor up, your strength brings your ceiling up. Having a high strength ceiling and isn't necessarily the most important thing in jiu-jitsu, but if you can sit and coast at 70% RPM at all times, but your 70% feels like everyone else is 90, they're going to gas and fatigue out way faster than you will just because your potential is so much higher. You have those gears, you just don't have to go there. So the question is, what is the difference between training for grapplers versus for powerlifting? With powerlifting, the main objective is get your squat, bench, deadlift up. Be as technically proficient as you possibly can, and only choose accessory movements that will bring up either the attributes that you need to be successful in that specific lift, or the muscle groups that are weak to get you up in that specific lift. However, top end strength isn't always the weakness for a grappler. When I look at a grappler, I look at it like I grew up a gamer, so I look at him like a video game character. And you got your strength bar, agility bar, endurance bar, and once you start getting to the masters divisions, right after 30, that's where your isometric strength and muscular endurance really matters, because you start losing some of that power and explosivity. So we need to offset that with that quote unquote old man strength, where we have that isometric ability. And honestly, I think isometric strength and cardio is the top two attributes most grapplers should have, outside of mobility. If you don't have mobility, you just don't have access to a lot of the techniques you need to be doing. So I'd say for grappler, identifying where they're lacking and then building them up based on those individual attributes and not being married to a singular implement. A powerlifter, you're married to the squat, bench, deadlift. You got to be touching a bar at all times. A grappler, we may not touch a bar for like 6 weeks. It really comes down to the individual, their phase, competition, and what that person needs. So like, for example, on our app, we have the Jiu-Jitsu Strength and Conditioning program. It's our number one subscribe to app program right now on the app by and large. Part of it is because it is specific for grapplers, and that's my main forte. The other one is really funny. It's our number one weight loss program. I had a weight loss program. It had the whole macro count and everything in there, but more people saw weight loss in the jiu-jitsu one than they saw in the weight loss one. And my theory is, because I can't explain that with science, because it shouldn't have happened. But after 7 months of writing the weight loss program and having more success in the jiu-jitsu one, almost no matter what someone did with their diet, as long as they weren't being an asshole with their diet, they would lose weight and get lean. So my theory is, because there was no marriage to a singular modality of training, we took him into styles of training that most people never experienced in their life. So it's a forced adaptation that you don't already have going into it. For example, our first phase is heavy isometrics. Cardio is mainstay no matter what. Like, once you're with us, you can never escape cardio. That's always going to be a thing no matter what the goal is. If you're a powerlifter, you need great cardio. If you're a grappler, you need even better cardio. You need to be in well-conditioned shape to be able to do workout after workout after workout and recover from it. For a powerlifter, you need to be able to do set after set after set and not fade away in a session. So I'd say that heavy focus on the isometric, heavy focus on tempo work, heavy focus on positional positions and being strong in end ranges is what makes the grappling training different than the powerlifting training.
Just because we're both masters competitors, are there like a couple like top exercises just to give people some like a little sample there for on the isometric side? Are there a couple like top exercises that you really focus on for grapplers outside of like, you know, like if these are the ones like I need to do these, say like 3 things, like these are the 3 things.
The holy grail.
Yeah.
Of isometric training.
Isometric training?
That you like, you know, that maybe is like, all right, these are my top
If they
3.
don't have, like, if someone's like limited on time, maybe, and they're like, yo, like, I can't work with a full-time coach, they don't have that, but they can get into the gym. What do you have to do every week?
I'll break into a couple categories, because I think we can answer it through different modalities, and someone can just piece together their own program if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Is as we age, because we also want longevity, right? As we know, you look at a room full of black belts, you'll see a room full of injuries. If you look at a room full of black belts, you'll look at a room full of injuries. There's a lot of longevity in the sport, but there's also a lot of injuries that come along with that, right? The body gets torn up, your hands get mangled up, etc. So for me, I would say, as first and foremost, longevity. So as we age, we lose the ability to decelerate, jump, and articulate. So we lose the ability to jump, so people stop jumping, jump roping, and stuff like that. Be able to decelerate, slow down, acceleration, or jump off of something. And then the ability to articulate their spine. And for grapplers, I think being able to articulate your spine safely, like move it in all directions, is extremely important. Because then otherwise, you're always stuck. If you get put on your back and you have no spinal mobility, I mean.
You're not going to hip escape.
Yeah,
you're not going to
there's
move.
no hip
You're just going to freeze.
Exactly. Because all you have to do is control your shoulders now. Everything's in control. So I'd say first, you should always do something to articulate your spine, to jump, and to decelerate. Whether it's like depth jumps or slow down off a sprint, something like that. Just to future-proof yourself and to strengthen your structure. From a strength standpoint, I don't think bench press is necessarily the best thing for a grappler. I think overhead press or dips, just because the range of motion is greater. In grappling, you need to be strong in really weird end ranges. So I would say overhead press or dips. Obviously the squat, because it's the biggest bang for your buck. And I would argue deadlift or clean. Most people, I would say deadlift. My preference is clean. But the clean has a high ceiling of skill prerequisites. You need to be skillful and you need to have the mobility. The majority of the population, once they get into the Masters division, are tight because they sit all day, probably have day jobs, kids, etc. It's not realistic for them to do the clean, although I think it is the better of the two for a grappler.
What are your thoughts on like power cleans versus full cleans?
Power cleans versus full cleans. I think power cleans are safer because you're not catching in the bottom position for your knee.
Right.
It's my favorite exercise of all time. So I'm a little biased.
I was gonna say I've been doing I've been almost exclusively power cleans for like my entire life. And that's why I'm like, oh fuck, coach, don't get mad at me.
Like I literally have.
We used to get yelled at for the power cleans by
Really?
the
Oh,
CrossFitters.
fuck 'em,
The
man.
CrossFitters didn't like us doing power cleans. We used to do a
No,
lot of cleans.
we promote dropping the plates and throwing the chalk. Just don't look like Triple H and make a mess. Outside of that, we'll clean up for you guys. I don't have to vacuum up. But we
Be
love
tasteful with your.
it. I mean, it is
use
a
of
barbell
chalk.
gym. It's in our
Yeah,
image,
dude. Well,
so,
like you know, it's funny, man. Like when I run out of chalk, I can't lift this heavy, man. I just my palms get sweaty, dude. Mostly on deadlift.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
I just like I feel like I still got some juice left. I'm like my fucking hands are getting shredded. So like you gotta have the chalk, man.
Yeah, you gotta have the chalk, and then also
I don't
there's
use
ways-
the wraps, so I don't.
Yeah, I ban.
No, I like that. I like that.
Get that out of here.
I definitely ban gloves. Like unless you make a good argument, there's no gloves in our gym. And then straps and wraps, the ones that attach you to the bar, not the ones that wrap around your wrist. The ones that attach you to the bar, we have them in situations where people have lack mobility for front squats, just to have like an extra tether to hold on to. If you have a hand injury, that's a good one.
Like you actually need support.
You actually
versus
need it?
like, oh, I want to.
Because if you can't hold on to it, then you shouldn't have picked it up.
That
Does
makes
that
sense.
make
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it's our model is if you can't pick it up nicely, then don't put it down. If you can't put it down nicely, don't pick it up. And if your hands can't hold on to it, you probably shouldn't have picked it up. So get your hands strong. I think the things that attach you to the world, your feet and your hands should always be trained at all times. They should be strong at all times. When you walk in tomorrow, you'll see I have a whole wall, a whole rack, and it's just grip tools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a weird crossover between strongman and jiu-jitsu.
I was gonna ask you how much you love the world's strongest man, dude. It's literally top of my
So
mind.
one of my trainers is a competitive strongman competitor
nice.
at the regional level. He has 11-inch hands. He's an absolute unit. And then one of our competitors, he is a purple belt from another gym in Chantilly, but he's also competitive USA PL powerlifter,
Cool.
Masters division, and former strongman competitor. So he gifted us a lot of strongman tools.
I want to pick up an Atlas stone when I'm ready.
So we have sandbags. So,
All right.
So the reason I did the sandbags is I have 2 bags. Because the bags kind of move more like your torso. The stone has no give, and you're not going to ever grab someone that has no give in their torso. The big bag's 152, so it's a little bit more like picking up a male. And then the other one's, I think, 99, 97 now. So that one's for the females, the other one's for the men. So they can pick that up, and we can do a lot of body lock mechanics.
I like that.
And carries.
I like that. When I get bored, dude, I'll pull up like on YouTube. It used to be on YouTube, and I hope it still is. But they have like 70s and 80s World's Strongest Man competitions, like with the best
like
dudes.
Marius Pujanowski and all those guys.
Yeah, like the goats, Kazmaier. I love those.
When Kazmaier's traps are behind his head. Yeah.
Those were the best.
Anyways, I work in brewing, and we have like all the kegs, and so not as much anymore because I work on the management side. But I used to do like a lot of like keg lifting, like when I was waiting for processes. I used to just do all the keg lifts and stuff like that. So
I coached
days.
I coached a strongman comp last year. But he was competing. I was handling him there, and they're doing keg tosses. And
They throw them over the bar.
oh my god, that thing is wild. I went to go grab one of those things to go throw it, and like I have a fairly strong deadlift and grip. Yeah, being 5'8" and doing that was nuts.
That's
It's an awkward it's an awkward thing to lift because of like it's already pretty tall, but then like you grab it in like a awkward position and like
so that was exactly it. Like I'm not necessarily the tallest man in the world. I'm not vertically inclined, but they're all taking it, swinging between their legs like a kettlebell swing and throwing it over their head. I went to go swing it and just hit the floor because I did not have enough clearance between me and the floor for it to get under me. So that was.
I would think they would have to like kind of. I guess you said like taller dudes that can get that momentum or whatever. Like I don't know, the velocity gets built up as they pull it. But I would think they gotta like lean back and not blast their face.
Oh, yeah,
you gotta throw it up over the bar
You gotta
usually.
throw it straight up and over.
And then they keep increasing the height as you keep hitting the goal.
The weight.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
Yeah, it is absolutely wild. I mean, definitely pays to be taller and bigger in that sport for sure. Mass moves mass, and that day proved that to me for sure.
Yeah.
Well, so when you and I got on the phone a couple of days ago, what like sold me on the program, because you were speaking my language right away. It's definitely like armoring up.
Yes.
Which I've been saying that kind of casually. So to hear like you like an actual like expert on this, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It feels like you're armoring up
So
when you get a good program.
The first time I ever heard someone use armor in jiu-jitsu, because I can't even like say that's my tagline, because I heard that for the first time probably 12, 13 years ago. It was Brilla Estima and a few other black belts were in a chat and they were talking, and he was telling everybody, you need to build tension in your body almost like it's armor to protect yourself. And I was like, that's exactly it. Mm-hmm. But this is like right early on, and I heard him say that, and I was like, they were onto something, but the connection between that strength training and jiu-jitsu still wasn't there, because there was always that pushback of technique over strength. And it's like, until you find someone who's just slightly worse than you but is way stronger than you and more
Dude, I think strength is a technique.
Absolutely.
I think it's a technique.
It's a viable attribute.
Yeah, like you said, it's like a video game. Like you have to have it.
It gives you access, like mobility, right? If you lack mobility, especially dexterity in your legs, like there's just a lot of things you can't do in jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. And then if you lack strength, you lack the horsepower. You're gonna fade out a lot faster. There's a lot of, they're all energy bars, right? In the character, depending on what kind of fighting character
build a character.
Yeah, right. Like you're playing Dead or Alive or whatever. Like depending on what kind of character you're trying to show up with, you got to build the character to the style that you're trying to build. So, like example, if you're like a top heavy wrestler, and you do a lot of top pressure, a lot of stuff in front headlocks, you're probably not gonna do a lot of shoulder pressing with me. Not you'll bench, but not a lot. Just because we don't want to jam up your neck and have you wake up with a stinger. Right? Mm-hmm. If you're a huge leg locker, we're probably just going to squat and not barrage your legs with a bunch of other things and work more on positional stability, just so your knees have a day to rest, you know? So it's also, you got to take into account the meta of that athlete, you know?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Like they're going to be doing this, and then they're going to have 5 to 8 or more mat sessions too.
Exactly. I'm not going to have like
the wear and tear is adding up.
100%. I'm not going to have a bottom half 42-year-old Masters Division grappler who's probably isometrically strong with no explosivity, trained the same way as a 25-year-old wrestler at Attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just not going to happen.
Yeah. What's interesting, too, like what again, like I found appealing about when we were talking, too, was like a couple of years ago I decided to stop cutting down to, like I weighed 169 last night when I went to bed and I was full. I've been, maybe the diet hasn't been the cleanest, but it's okay. But I've been lifting a little bit more, too. I'm not like getting fat or anything, but it's definitely like I've got more padding on than usual. So I like look back, like I used to do 148. I used to do lightweight. Is that like, no, that's featherweight. I used to do featherweight in the IBJJF. And like a couple of years ago I just noticed it was just making me too brittle, man. Like my cardio would go up as I would like, I guess because like I wouldn't be able to rely on strength as much, like I had to have more cardio. But I was getting dinged up a lot more. Like I wasn't armored up.
Yep.
I could get like I wasn't getting as tired, but I felt and then we wrestle a ton at District Martial Arts. So within that there just has to be explosivity. Mm-hmm. So I would get moved around a lot more because I was a little bit lighter. So just like less mass getting pushed around. I'd be more durable. Like I'd get back up a little bit more quickly. Like I was able to bounce on. My athleticism was still pretty high, but I just wasn't as durable, and I wasn't like after I would do a cut to 148 and like whatever, like the week or two after that I'd get back up to like the high 50s or like low 60s. Usually that's mixed in with like more eating, more lifting in that period. I'd get on the mat and like someone would be shooting it on me and I just wouldn't even move. Like they'd hit my hips, I'd be like, all right, nice.
It's more sturdy.
I don't feel as it's initially like that adaptation of coming off of less lifting, cutting on the calories, going a little bit lighter. All right, like I gotta come back. So I'm a little like stiff, like in this follow up period because I'm lifting a bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm not moving as much. Like I'm a little bit like slower. I'm noticing that's usually because I'm just like sore, like legs are fried from squats or whatever. But I always notice a difference. Like if me and some guy who's a little bit bigger than me, he shoots in. I'm like, all right, well now he can't move me. Sweet. So I can recover. I actually don't have to use as much cardio.
Yeah.
Because like you said, like it's just like my baseline. I'm heavier. So anyways, now that I've gone up a little bit, I guess there's going to be, well, this is really something we'll work on, but it's like maintaining the balance of all of that. I feel like I'm kind of getting to like an optimal range for myself. So like I don't want to go to 40 yet, but I can do 62.6 or lightweight. I can do that and try to check all the boxes. That fits for where I'm at in my life.
Absolutely. And one of the things we do when we're trying to select weight classes for an athlete, first we want to make sure they have experience. And clearly you have experience, so we already have data points of like what weight classes you did well at, what did you not. And the difference in jiu-jitsu and powerlifting is I'm short, so I walk around like 202, 200. I'm short for powerlifting. No, I'm tall for my weight class in powerlifting. I am short for jiu-jitsu.
Got it.
From my height.
Got
so we want to look at, okay, stature-wise too, how do you size up to everyone else? What weight classes are you doing well in? And then what weight classes how do you size up with everyone else in that weight class? And then also, frame-wise, how do you feel? I think the biggest issue people have, and I see it a lot I don't see it only in the grappling world, but I definitely see it in the grappling world because that's what I'm immersed in right now, is when people cut, they lay off the throttle on lifting and they focus more on cardio. And they rely on the cardio to be the reason they cut. That is a death sentence to your gains. Because now the adaptation to the reason you had the muscle you had when you bulked up was it was an adaptation to that lifting. Now you just stop doing the thing that forced that adaptation, it's going to regress. So your strength will come down to a set point. And unless it was super high, it's probably going to come down to a point where you feel like, oh, I don't have the horsepower anymore. I don't have.
You're weaker.
Exactly.
You're weaker now.
Yeah, you're just weaker.
Put it simply, which doesn't sound nice, man.
Yeah, not at all. You're way weaker.
I don't want to be weaker.
And you should never, in my opinion, you should never do a weight cut or you ever cut weight and get leaner through exercise. Exercise should never be the reason you get leaner. Exercise should be where you build your performance. Your nutrition should be where you build the composition. So you want to go up, it's diet. You want to come down, it's diet. Training should be the same all year round. And I think where people get into issues, and there's a lot of pushback early on when the strength world tried bringing people up and getting people to lift. And I think this is where the resistance is in jiu-jitsu with strength. Not after ADCC, but but I think where a lot of the resistance is people think the more you lift, the bigger you get, the slower you get. But I think the reason for that is they watched so many of their peers lift, eat a bunch, and stop doing the cardio, and bulked up quickly, and then they got slow because now they're running around with a weight vest, but they stopped doing their cardio. So for us, cardio is a mandatory thing. We'll move you up weight, but then we'll make you sit at a weight for a few weeks or months to let your body balance out. Because you'll notice that you've moved up and down enough weight classes that you probably noticed when you bulked up, as soon as you let off the gas pedal on the food, you dropped weight because your body hasn't really reached homeostasis at that weight yet. But after a while of sitting in the 160s, you probably could go a day of eating like 50% of normal calories, and you probably still be here, right? Because this is your new set point. So to find these new set points where your body has time to adapt to it, your cardio has time to catch up to it, and you feel good just moving in your own skin, I think a slow process, kind of like a staircase, where we go up, sit for a little bit, go up, sit for a little bit. And then same thing in the reverse. We come down, sit for a little bit, come down, sit for a little bit. Is the correct way, and that way you kind of offset all that like sluggish feel when you get too big and the weak feel when you get too small. But most people just roll the ball up and down the hill and wonder why it's not staying. You know.
Yeah, it's. I'm actually working on that right now. I was trying to get back up to like 152 so I can wait there because I'm trying to go back to.
You want to be heavy. You want to be able to just trim it down to the top.
I used to compete I've competed at 125. I've competed at 135. And now I'm just trying to maintain and compete at like it's 148. Yeah. And like mainly because same thing he's talking about. Like I used to walk at 155 and then cut down to 135, and like eventually it was just like, dude, I'm just getting weaker doing this. Yeah. Because like we would bulk up, and then it was just that big drop like for the week or two before, and then
I think it kind of depends too on like what organization you're competing in too, right? So IBJJF, your weigh-ins are right before your match.
Yeah.
So you better be ready to go, man.
Yeah.
You better be on point. It's not like, because I did ADCC trials last. It was like this time last year, last March in Vegas. We had day before weigh-ins.
That's always the best.
So much better.
I love that.
So much better.
Yeah.
I actually felt pretty good. Now, could I have done the weight cut better? Definitely.
Yeah.
Right. This is something we'll
Yeah,
talk about this stuff,
absolutely.
right? Like having. By the way, like anyone listening, like having like an expert, a coach to do this is the way to go. You need another set of eyes. But anyways, that day before weigh-in, God, man, it's such a big difference. I had to cut to 45.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to do 175. I mean, I don't know. We'll talk. Maybe I need to gain weight. But whatever. Like, for me at the time, like, going from, like, low 60s, high 50s, which I think was where I was at before, cutting down to 45. But having, like, it wasn't 24 hours. It's probably, like, 16 hours-ish. That's a lot, dude.
That's a lot.
I ate 2 or 3 times that night.
I think 12 hours plus is a lot. You can do a lot with that. Like there's a NIGA happening out in West Coast right now, and they did a 36-hour weigh-in
I love
for the
it.
adults.
That's beautiful.
So they weighed in last night, and they're competing Sunday. I was like, if you would have just told me this a week ago, we could do so much. There's like, I was salivating when I heard that. 'Cause
It could be huge.
yeah, it's insane. So like for like a 16-hour weigh-in, 175, you're going to be going against guys my size, my weight class, because that's where I would cut to.
That's right.
I'm sure you guys know one of my clients, Cam. I mean,
Yeah.
he started with me at 155. We bulked him up, and then we've been together over 3 years now, and super meticulous at his diet. But he will walk around sometimes at 202, or we'll bring him down into the 180s. And all the comps this year are 83 kilos, so it's just makes no sense to go that much heavier. But yeah, he still walks around like 190.
Is he going to do 77 for like the actual? Because those are for
Yeah,
83 kilos is for the
Yes.
opens. They have more weight classes. 88 is probably like guys like who are like 215.
Yeah, they're all huge, man.
250,
And they're all not only they're
220
huge, they're
maybe?
tall. Like
Yeah, they're big, their body type's
structurally,
big.
they're just tall.
He seems like he's going to be a dangerous guy at 77.
Absolutely.
I think he's going to do very well there.
Yeah, and Sam, another one, trying to bring him up too, get his size up. He's a 175er, 177er, but we're trying to get him even bigger, so when he cuts down, he's more filled out in his frame.
He's filled out, dude. I saw him like a week ago, man.
Yeah, he's looking good.
He looks
He's
great,
on a cut.
man.
He's on a cut right now.
He was telling me he looks,
yeah.
but he looks big, man. Like he's.
Yeah.
I've known him since he was like a teenager.
Yeah.
And dude, he's
I love that guy.
husky, man. And like he's a hoss.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome energy, always focused, and the thing is, like, you just tell him to do it, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like, yes, sir. Okay,
Yeah.
go. So he's on a cut. We're getting him diced up right now, so that way we can set him up for a bulk, because we're trying to build him up, but we need his composition to be at a certain point, so that way we can actually see where the weight's going correctly, and he's not weighed down on the mats, because muscle moves bone, not fat. So the slower we can bulk, the better. That also means the leaner we can be. But if someone isn't already lean up front, that's just weight, especially when you're in the competitor. If you're not a competitor, disregard what I'm about to say. But if you are a competitor, the added body fat, unless it actually helps you with your energy and like hormone balance, having all that extra body fat just puts you into a disadvantageous position against someone who's leaner, because they're just going to outsize you and size doesn't always correlate to strength, but they will outsize you and generally outstrength you in that same weight class. Right? You want to grow out of a weight class. Right? You don't want to you want to keep cutting into a weight class until you literally just can't anymore. Like you're just too big to do it anymore. And that's what I try to get with these guys is over time I want them to be so developed that one, they don't lose their mobility, but they can't cut into those weight classes anymore. That's the only time I'll be like, yeah, let's go up a weight class. Unless there's money on the line, let's not do that.
That changes things.
That changes things for sure. Yeah.
Until then.
Yeah, until then, you wanna go into the most competitive weight class you can be in, especially as you go up the belt ranks, and then until you just can't. Until it just becomes like, it's not worth the health toll to do this, or it's just too strenuous. It will take too long. So that's generally how I like to approach it with them. So Sam's gonna be an interesting one. He's already getting shredded quick.
Yeah, he looked lean as hell when I saw him. Anyways, traps were huge, delts were huge, chest was big.
Yeah,
He's got big legs.
That's only 2 lifts a week with 1 conditioning day.
There you go.
Is that generally? I guess it probably depends on the athlete, like how much lifting that you actually put on them.
Yeah, that's actually definitely something I want to hit on today. Is like frequency of training for a grappler comes to a couple factors. First, let's talk about competitors. How frequently are they competing, and then how frequently are they training? Your training, think of it like recovery points, right? You only are allotted so many points a week. depending on your genetics, your age, your nutrition, your sleep, and your stress management, your body is rewarding you with X amount of points to spend every week. It's like a currency. So if you're spending 80% of your points on the mats, you're only left with 20%. Anything more than that, you're going into debt, which is then tapping into recovery. So we first need to look at what's your frequency of training, and then look at, okay, what days are the hardest days of training? Because usually the day right after that is not going to be a hard lifting day. We want to say if you're doing a comp class Mondays and Wednesdays, we're probably not going to lift really hard Tuesdays and Thursdays. You're going to be too beat up. So we have to kind of play that dance with your schedule, with your academy. So we look at the frequency, then we put that in. The general just what I'm finding with most competitors is 2 to 3 days of strength with 1 to 2 days of conditioning. But those conditioning sessions are very short. I don't like long workouts for grapplers. I like them 30 to 45 minutes. For the ones who like to bro out, I'm assuming that's going to be you. It's going to be over an hour probably.
You'd be right.
Yeah, most of our grapplers, when they come to our facility, not all of them come to our facility. Like 83, I think now, 84% of our athletes don't actually live in the area or come to our facility. But the ones who do come, if they're there for over an hour, it's because they were hanging out, talking with somebody, catching up, right? But if you buckle down, do the workout, 45 minutes easily. So 45 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, one interval day, one long distance, kind of like zone 2 recovery day.
So you do like remote coaching for
the majority of my business is remote around the country. We have people from California all the way to New Zealand. I have 2 black belts in New Zealand. I'm trying to build up a client base in Dubai right now. My brother's out there. He was the second trainer in our family, so I'm the youngest of 5. So yeah, he's over there. I'm trying to get him to do this over there, so that'd be fun because jiu-jitsu is very young over there. So we're trying to build up over there. So we have a couple in Dubai. Right now, I think I only have 1 in the UK, 1 in South Africa, and the majority are here in the U.S. I have a handful in Canada, and I have 2 in, I think it's Ecuador? Yeah, Ecuador.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been nuts.
I think
international.
I think the Gulf states are throwing money at people to start doing a lot of martial arts.
Yes.
So like they're coming up with like programs where like I think I had heard a little while back they were like coming up with I thought they were state programs. I'm not sure what exactly it was, but they were tossing money at black belts to move over here, start teaching, become full time. They were throwing money at guys who would win like UAE, JJF tournaments, like a lot of money.
A lot of them are getting
like 6 figures to win like a tournament.
I could be wrong, but I think Nogueira got pulled out into UAE.
Yo, he's out there. He's got one of the big ones in Dubai.
Yeah. So I definitely want to go out there and visit. I'm going to go there at the end of the year, get some training in, and then try to just build connections over there with the academies. Because one of the things I want to do is help them, obviously, with their clientele and their strength and conditioning side, but also from the business side of like client retention and how do we build a community. Because I think the number one killer of all sport, or all service-based fitness academies, so whether it's a gym or jiu-jitsu or martial arts, is the community side. So if we can really build and solidify a healthy community and a community structure, then we keep clients around for a long time.
Yeah, you got to give them that extra thing to like that they feel like their money is important, like that they're supposed to be there versus like just I could just get the same thing somewhere else because there's no additional thing.
Yeah, you have to give the added value, but you also have to have the differentiator. I mean, why would someone come to you versus someone else? And this is something we have a staff meeting every week, and I always tell everybody, we're not in the business of fitness, we're in the business of experience. It's if someone gets off work and they look forward to coming to your facility, you know you did something right. Mm-hmm. If they come to your facility and they leave feeling so good they can't wait to come back the next day, then you know you did something right. Mm-hmm. They can train jiu-jitsu anywhere. They can hit a barbell anywhere, right? There's gyms you throw, and especially in this area, you close your eyes, throw a rock, you can hit a gym.
That's right.
Of some type. So why yours versus someone else's? It's that experience and that community. I think that's what a lot of these organizations like F45, CrossFit, and all this stuff did really well. Mm-hmm. Was they doubled down, tripled down on the community aspect, and they do so well at building it and keeping it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big differentiator. Like you said, it's like an intangible thing that creates a stickiness. It's easier your friends. Yeah. Like whenever I talk to someone who's, and this is usually true for like folks who have done some training in the past or whatever, brand new people too who don't know anything about, who are like a raw white belt, because you'll get both. Yeah. Just using like the martial arts framework, but the first thing I tell these prospective people when they come in, amongst other things, is that like do you come into the room, see if you like the community, see if you like the coach, and ask yourself like, are these the type of people I want to hang out with?
Yeah.
Because you're probably going to.
Absolutely.
And then I don't know. I just kind of do that off the cuff, but I mean it. It's like the very first thing I tell people, like, do you want to be around these types of guys? Because these are the dudes who are going to be in here trying to like squeeze your neck.
Yeah.
Like it becomes intimate really fast. But you'll meet like lifelong cool friends that you'll get really close with, and that's what you want.
Absolutely, and I think from a consumer standpoint, it's super important to vet that out. But I think from like the owner standpoint on our end of the fence, it's important to be able to protect that, right? It should be something that shouldn't be said. We shouldn't say yes to literally everybody, because if personalities clash and it kind of messes with the feng shui, I think keeping that culture healthy and safe should be like top priority.
100%.
And it's one of those things we tell people all the time. It's like, well, like I said to you on the phone, I wasn't even joking about it too, about the dog thing, where like if you're not good with dogs, you can't be a member.
Yeah.
You can be a member. You can be a NoVa Barbell client. You just can't be a member of our facility because the dogs are there all the time.
They're on the team, man. They're on staff.
Yeah, they're literally
You can't clash. You can't clash with the staff members.
But it's like it's one of those things where I realized I was like we pride ourselves in really pushing that, because my first client 15 years ago is still my client. So most of my OG adopters early on are still my clients, and that's culture is so important, and letting them help with that, because they were there at the beginning. Be like, hey, so what direction should we go in? So a lot of the different pushes, like there was a big push, like, do we really double down on the jiu-jitsu side? What we ended up doing was bringing out multiple coaches. So now every coach kind of has their focuses, whereas mine is the strength and conditioning for jiu-jitsu. We have a guy who now runs the whole powerlifting wing. We have a guy who does the Muay Thai stuff, etc. So that helped a lot. So that way we didn't dilute the product.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I've had to personally remove people from the community. Like it was not, it wasn't something that I thought I'd be doing a lot of when we first launched the gym. But as time has gone on, I don't know, I've lost track of how many times it's not a crazy number, but it's enough that like you have to do it.
I mean, especially when you start getting to like the bigger numbers like you guys are at, like a larger academy. I mean, it's inevitable. Not everyone's gonna get along, and you kind of have to play a little bit of politics, right? You kind of be neutral ground, but at the end of the day, you still need to protect your child, which is the business, right?
That's
the company and the people there that are supporting it, because at the end of the day, they're the reason why you're able to do what you do. So if you can protect them and protect the culture, then you guys are gonna thrive.
Yeah.
I've always been adjacent to it, running Nova MMA there, and like all of that, and like it's something that definitely catches people off guard. Is that like you don't know it's something that's going to happen until you have an issue, and then you're like, oh, like now I got to figure out like who's the one to keep, who's the one like who needs to go, like where's the poison in the system, right?
Absolutely.
It gets easier. It gets easier because like you'll have when you curate a community, and like you said, you have guys who've been with you for 15 years, and we'll have guys who've been with us for X number of years, and we know them, and we like you get a pretty good idea of that person and what they're like, and you'll know if they've been around in a positive way for a bit of time, that maybe their strengths and weaknesses, their personality traits, like maybe they can be a little testy or whatever, like that's. It is what it is.
It's a combat sport.
It's a combat sport. Yeah, like, everyone's a little bit
like aggression's normal.
Yeah,
totally. But I'll put it this way: like I have friends, men, women, and kids. Like there's families, people who are trusting their family, people trust like their wives or whatever, husbands coming in here, and then if someone comes in and they're like a wild card on the mat, they're not training in a safe way, or like just to use that as an example. Or someone who's just like a toxic, just like mean. Who's just kind of like a wild, like if it's not going to work, like you identify it. And I actually have done this kind of recently, where you have to give someone like a binary. It's like this, or it's you're either going to do it, you're going to comply, or you're not. Yeah. And it's like it sounds kind of strict. It is strict, but that's just the way it is. Yeah. Sort of like you're going to have to adapt to this. It's like we're not asking for anything crazy. It's like you just get along with people. Like use discretion. Be a smart person on the mat. Like I've seen people with kind of semi like unhinged behavior, like risky behavior, like going for submissions or whatever, being a little bit too aggressive. Like we're all aggressive. Like we want aggressive, but like there's like a way to do that. And if they're not gonna like, hey, here's your chance. You adjust it now, and if it's not gonna happen, like, dude, we'll cut you out.
I was definitely that guy when I first started.
You got molded by the community.
Yeah,
like,
so I got molded, and definitely the head instructor there, the guy who pretty much I trained under my whole time. He essentially helped me mellow out and everything. I mean, you're 21, angry, and like 210 pounds powerlifter. Like you're like, oh,
you're a dog.
Yeah.
You're a dog.
And I just want to run my head through things, and that's. But no, I think being able to identify that and then also giving them the opportunity, because sometimes people just don't know what they don't know, and they don't realize how they're being perceived. So my general, because with jiu-jitsu it's a lot easier, right? Because you can just observe it literally right there, or sometimes you feel it. But like in our gym, the way we kind of, my first radar being is if we do a community event, we do one every Friday night. Like last time we did a game night till almost midnight. And so we do a game night every Friday night, and then we do community events every month. We get people together and they all hang out. And my mindset is, if I hesitate to invite you because someone else who was there, there's something wrong there. I need to investigate.
It's a red flag.
Yeah, I need to investigate that. That's usually where I'm like, okay, I need to investigate this, because I want to have a community where I don't have to consider who I'm inviting. I just invite everybody.
Yep.
If you want to show up, come by. Everyone there is someone I would hang out with for sure. But obviously, as things get bigger and grow, that gets more and more difficult. But yeah, no, I think it's important to protect that. But on the inverse of that too, this is one thing that Knock helped us out a lot. On the flip side, still on the topic of community, is we were trying to figure out like retention, right? And that's actually, I think, how you and I even in the first place even chatted, was off of that retention in the chat, which is how do we build and bridge a community for people that are global, right? Because like what I noticed was the further someone's distance was to our zip code, so the further the zip code out there was, the less likely, the shorter their duration was with us.
Makes sense.
So the ones that were the furthest away, like New Zealand or California, etc. And I was trying to figure out why, because the program is the same, interaction is the same. It was the lack of them being able to join our community stuff. So that's when the whole Discord and all the communal stuff and internet stuff started happening. And our numbers, our retention rate doubled. It got way better immediately within a month, just because we started making them feel like they're still a part of the gym, although they weren't at our gym. That was huge.
That's huge.
That was really hard, though.
The game night's a cool idea, too.
Yeah,
I love that for,
yeah.
like, because, I mean, these dudes got an Xbox or whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
Like, they can log in from anywhere.
Exactly.
That's a cool idea, man.
Yeah, it was difficult because I'm not the most tech-savvy guy, so navigating that was difficult, but I'm lucky I'm married to it. Yeah. But once we did that, it was great, and that's the whole point of, like, doing these podcasts and trying to be more out there, because, like, truth be told, I was terrified to do podcasts till 2 weeks ago. I got invited to do a couple earlier this year, and I said no. I have a voice dysmorphia. I don't know myself.
We all have that.
Yeah.
I hate my voice, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's just a normal thing.
Yeah, and it's like, and like where I grew up, we had a little bit of a slang. So like trying to get rid of all that, it was interesting. So when you're like, yeah, we can do this podcast, I'm like, hell yeah, dude. And then I woke up this morning, I was like,
Oh, fuck, I gotta do a podcast.
I'm
I'm doing a podcast.
Try and talk.
Dude, I did an impromptu podcast yesterday. It was a short, it was like 20 minutes, and I was kind of nervous. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm doing it. I'm like, I'm doing another one tomorrow. I'm doing it's like, it's 3 or 4 times longer, but whatever.
Yeah, this is the first time I did that's not in our facility, because normally they'll come, set up in our gym, and then they interview us and stuff like that, and that's pretty cool. We're on home base. So doing this, I was like, oh, damn. But no, this has been a lot of fun. I think it'd be a good way to also get the exposure out and just get more knowledge out there, because my purpose of being on this is for just getting more info out to the community, so they just have more info, because growing the jiu-jitsu community is mutually beneficial for all of us in the DMV area, especially because the more grapplers we have here, the more competitors we have, the more client potential we have, etc. But also keeping them healthy so they stay on the mats is even more, if not more important, right? We don't want it to be a wheel that's constantly turning itself one in, one out, right?
That's right.
So we want to make sure people stay on the mats, and one of the main ways is make sure they don't get injured, because if you get injured, you're going to get discouraged. And the more injuries you get, the more discouraged you get. Especially the main people that are going to be keeping the lights on are going to be between like the 30 and 55 range.
That's right.
Like adults with real
with
jobs,
money,
real responsibilities, right? And then after a couple of injuries, they're going to start asking themselves, is this really worth it? I got a family, I got a wife and kids I got to go home to, etc. Is this actually sustainable? Mm-hmm. Maybe I should just go to a gym and work out. So if we can keep them on the mats, keep them healthy, that conversation really doesn't pop up as much.
I saw someone posted, just as like a sidebar comment, one thing that's kind of cool about like some of the networking groups we're in, but like there's starting to be a lot more resources for the business of jiu-jitsu, which is really good. Anyways, I saw this post, I think it's like related to that, which was that the number one issue that a lot of folks have in retention in this space is dudes getting injured, new people getting injured, and then exactly what you described.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy at our gym, he's a dad, great guy, and his kid, he's had his kid in the program for a couple of years now. His son's doing competitions, he's having a really good time, kid's doing a good job, and then he signed up, started doing jiu-jitsu, he's hooked now, which is awesome. He loves it. Like I think it was good. But he got banged up early on. He's probably in his 40s, like young enough, like young, active, like healthy guy, but also like in that age range where he's like got to ask himself these questions. Like, dude, I got a wife and a kid. Like, do I need to be getting leg or shoulder
When
injuries?
you're not deep enough into it yet either.
Yeah,
Like,
you
feel like you have to keep going.
And that's tough. He reached. This was like, or maybe in the last like 6 or 8 months. Like he reached out, hey guys, I got banged up in the shoulder. Can I freeze my account? No big deal. That's why we have it. Yeah, sure, we'll freeze it. I ran into him the other day and had this conversation, and like it was a really positive conversation. But I was like, I can't wait to get back. It's like I feel like I'm pretty healthy again. I just got to think about like what do I need to do when I get back on the mat? How do I like just be smart? And for what it's worth, what I will. This is why everything we're talking about it's so important. It's so relevant. But when someone who has never done a combat sport, even if you're, maybe put aside like football, which is basically a combat sport. It's like a team combat sport. It is, but it isn't, right? But you're getting blasted. Like your body's going to get hit.
Absolutely.
That's impact.
Yep.
There's a ton of sports out there that don't involve your body taking collisions on a daily basis.
As a major design of the
sport. That's right. It's the purpose of the sport is to deliver impact and to minimize the impact that you receive, or at least deal with it in a tactical way. But like any person who shows up, it's kind of like inevitable. You're gonna run into like what I always tell guys is like try to keep those injuries at like a 5 out of 10 or lower, right? And I'll put it this way: there's like a silver lining to it. Like I think for me, early on when I got injured a few times when I was like white, blue belt or whatever, and I did, and I've been injured all the way through black belt. Like again, small things. I've done a good job of keeping them pretty low on the spectrum. Never had anything catastrophic. Knock on everything in front of me, but like dealing with those injuries, like kind of like adapting to it and asking yourself like, all right, what did I do wrong? What was like just analyzing why it happened, making some corrections, and then like when you're on the mat, like you probably need to train smarter. You probably need to train differently. But the exercise of doing that and then like getting back on the mat, not letting an injury stop you from continuing training is big. So like, can you come in here and like, hey, maybe my wrist is kind of banged up, but I'm competing in 2 months. Like I don't want to take the day off, but all right, my left arm's a little fucked up. I'm going to use my right arm.
It's opportunity.
That's right.
There's a way you can explore different ways to do jiu-jitsu.
Well, and like the community we talked about too, it's like you have good people. Like we train the guys we train with in the morning at 8 a.m. on Saturdays. They're all experienced. They're all pretty trustworthy. We had a new guy on the mat today who we didn't know. He was vetted by one of the dudes who came in here, so it's like it's not a complete cold prospect, but still,
he was the only one that wasn't banged up on the mat too.
Well, and he was a great training partner. But like you're kind of like look, we're stepping into the room. Everyone on that mat has been training for a long time. Most of them are in their 30s. So it's like no one's without a thing that's kind of on their mind. So but everyone's a dog. Everyone's nasty. Like they're strong. So you're going to get a good push, but like we can do what I described where it's like, hey, I can look you in the eye and say, man, all right, knee's a little banged up. So let's keep an eye on that, but let's fucking get after it. I'm just not going to use it very much.
Yeah.
I can do that with them, still get a good push, walk out sweaty, tired, and yeah, maybe it's not the best recovery, big picture, but like this is a life sentence for me. Like I'm not going to stop training. So can I get to where I can work, but if there's X, Y, or Z thing, I can just minimize and allow that to continue to recover, but the rest of my body works. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do. Put aside things like staph infections, but putting that aside, like that's just whatever.
Let's put those behind us.
We'll just put it to the side. But like, can you get on the mat? Can you spend time working and overcome an injury while still being active? So kind of it plugs all these things. Like you learn to do that when you get a couple small things. It's if you're gonna commit to like pushing yourself in this world for a while, for years. I mean that's what we want at the end of the day. Can't make someone do that, but like everyone's doing that in some capacity, like commensurate with what they want to do. Like this guy who's in his 40s, like he might want to do 1 or 2 jiu-jitsu tournaments just to say he did it. But is he going to go compete in ADCC? Probably not. I wouldn't tell him no, but you guys get what I'm saying. He'll have his ambition, and to him, he is doing that. Like that is his journey. So he's like, all right, like I want to get back on the mat. Maybe I'm not going to be a world champion, but like I'm going to push myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a good example for my kid, my wife, or whatever. I'm going to improve myself. How can I continue to do this and overcome these little things? Because I love this shit. I don't want to quit.
Yeah.
So that's like what we want, and you want that to be a healthy thing.
I think too with that is like for you've been doing it so long that you've been able to figure out that through the injuries there's opportunity for exploring new jiu-jitsu and new styles because okay, I lost one tire, let me not slash the other 3, let me find a way to still drive this car. And you learn it kind of forces you to explore different modalities of training. Like early on, I was 100% never a guard puller. Right? Still don't like it, but injuries made me have to at some point.
Yeah.
And I think the issue with especially the newer and the people that we're trying to keep around the white belts, once I think you start getting some colors and stripes on your belt, that changes things. And once you're in, you're in. But
you expect
the early white belts, especially because the benefit of jiu-jitsu and the negative of jiu-jitsu is it's so accessible. The reason it's so good, it's so accessible to everybody. But the reason it's so dangerous is so accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
There literally is no barrier to entry. You just show up and everyone starts as a white belt. So the danger there is you get a guy, right, theory, where you live in the DMV area, right? Everyone's driving to and from DC, sits there in traffic for an hour and a half, sits in his car, has been sitting in the office all day, comes, changes into his gi or his rash guard, and now they start drilling takedowns. He's never done a takedown before. He's never wrestled before in his life. His hips, ankles, and knees are tight. He takes a shot, his ACL is gone. So now his jiu-jitsu career just ended as fast as it started. I think the early education is super important, and being like, one, expectations, two, let's make sure your body can just demonstrate the basic shapes you will be experiencing in the mats. Right? Can you get into these basic shapes safely, and then build from there? And I think that's why like a lot of the early training, why I put such emphasis on the isometric work is like making you just hold these positions and get strong in them and own them. And understanding where your body is in space is super important. But I think that's where a lot of the big devastating injuries happen. And where the client base kind of can fall off is in those early white belts. They come in hot. They just watched the UFC, or they saw something online. Their friend brought them in on a trial class, and they don't have enough reps in the weight room and or on the mats, or just in fitness in general, to know when something goes from a soreness to an injury. You know, because that sensation is different. Learning the language of your body is a whole art in itself, and the more you spend time trying to listen to your body, the more you understand its language. But a lot of people can't decipher the difference. I'm borderline injury, or I'm just sore. You can drive through soreness. You should not drive through potential injury.
Yeah, this is starting to tear.
Like this ligament's kind of finicky. You know, there's a little bit of stutter in it, and maybe I should not train on that one right now. Maybe I'm just gonna sit on my butt today. You know, things like that. So I think that early education is super important. But for like people like you who've been doing it for so long, you've been able to learn that on your own, and then now you're able to pass that lesson on to those earlier adopters. So that way they come in hot, see what you're doing, and it's like monkey see, monkey do. They want to mimic it and do what the cool guys are doing. But it's like, wait. Before you start drawing the details in the foreground of this painting, let's do the background first. Let's just broad strokes. Let's just get you moving in the right direction. That's generally our coaching philosophy as well. Broad strokes, get you moving in the right direction, and then we'll worry about the details of the cues later. But if we barrage you with everything today, you're gonna get lost in the sauce, and that's how you get hurt.
Yeah, we just started implementing like introductory, like this is your fundamentals class. Like, all right, let's get these new guys so they're not just getting thrown into what everyone else needs to learn. We're gonna get them in. We're gonna do like a rotate. It's just rotating.
Yeah.
It's like we're gonna get them on this rotation. They just come in. They do they're doing fundamental movements and all of that.
Whoa.
And so we have them just doing that now, so that when they do go, and they don't have to worry about rolling in that class, and then they can start to become more comfortable to where they can actually do stuff in the all levels class, and especially like our morning classes, most of our competitors. Mm-hmm. So we have guys that do come in the morning, but they don't roll in the morning because it's that's a lot to take in if you're brand new.
Yep.
So they come back in the evenings and do fundamentals class for 45 minutes so that they can become, get that confidence. So they
do you guys have them do like a fundamentals for X amount of time or duration or whatever?
No, we don't have. It's not like a mandatory program. It's just something that we started adding in because we noticed that we have a lot of new guys come in, and we need a way to get them on track with everyone else without having to take away from the rest of the class. I mean, we have I think we're getting close to or clearing 300 members.
Nice.
Like, it's
That's
a lot
huge.
of people.
That's a big academy.
So, it's just a lot of people to train. We'll have 20 people at a 5:30 a.m. class.
Yeah.
So,
great.
you can't keep pulling those guys back for that guy who just signed up last week. So, and you don't want to take away from him, teaching him shin to shin leg entries, right? So,
and I think that's the thing that I don't envy from you guys, because like for what we do, I'm gonna liken it to kind of like a Netflix show. Whenever you start with us, we start on episode 1. No matter when you sign up with us, we start on episode 1. We can fast forward, right? If you got bored, let's skip to episode 3. Do I really like this show, Breaking Bad, whatever, right? It's like one of those slow churn shows. But with like jiu-jitsu, it's a live show that's going all the time. So how do you get people caught up on the previous seasons to then be up to par with everyone? And that's the part I don't envy. I like watching it because I work with so many academies around the country. It's interesting for me, but I am so happy I don't have to do it.
Yeah, it's tricky, man. Like you watch, I know we've talked about Nakano. I think we've talked about Nakano on every episode we've done this.
We bring him up
this season,
we
but
bring
anyways,
him up every
he's
so often.
Shout out to his gold medal.
For real, shout out. No, seriously, hey man, shout out to that. Good, he's got a great strength coach, but he's also got a very well developed program. He's been doing this for over a decade. I want to say like maybe almost 15 years, even for a while. And he's clearly thought a ton about how he's structured his program. It's a combination of both the business perspective, but the business perspective is like aligned with someone like having a really well curated like martial arts path too. So it does both things. But what I see like the better academies doing is they have that program built out. Like it's for all intents and purposes like beginner, intermediate, and then advanced. Mm-hmm. There's more or maybe different terminology used for that, but it's something like that. The tricky part is there's always inevitably there's going to be the leap. Like when someone goes out of beginner and go into an intermediate, like there's always going to be that little kind of like you are leaping a little bit, and like and that's the seam of how to do that is the tricky part.
Yeah.
And I'll put it this way: like when I started, probably you guys too. Like, do you remember when we first started this? People just threw you in, man.
Oh yeah.
I remember the class was 45 minutes of just getting your shit kicked.
Yes.
And then 15 minutes of technique, and it was random at the end.
That's right.
It didn't start getting really structured, I would say, until like around COVID, post-COVID time, when like the Death Squad started doing all those structured systems, and then everyone started really adopting things like that. That's why I started noticing more pushes for the systematized. And with working in so many academies, I'm noticing more and more academies doing that. Which is cool to see because now it's becoming more structured, almost like a curriculum base, which is how the human mind works.
Yeah.
We don't learn in random sequences. Learning a curriculum so that way someone gets exposure to the same thing over and over again, just slightly different, is huge.
It's become more professional.
Absolutely. And the thing with like Knock, what I like that he's doing, and it seems like you guys are doing as well, I'm noticing a lot of the academies in the DMV area, especially in our chat, are trying to do. Once again, gamers, I'm going to use a gaming analogy, is like, and I was never a single player gamer, I just started playing God of War, but it's like, you have this character, right, this new guy who just came on the mats, and you're taking him through a story, but his decisions kind of affect what things he gets, but there's still a predetermined path, right? It's white, blue, purple, brown, black, right? But with that predetermined campaign, there's things they can do that can either slow the campaign down because they went on a side quest, or speed things up, right? And I think that's what I'm seeing some of the bigger and or better academies, I don't want to say better, but the ones that are looking in this direction are structuring a curated almost path for each individual, a pipeline, if you will, are having better success with their retention because it's giving someone a story to follow. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you're selling them on a story, but it's their story. Yeah. Right? I think where you get a deep water is when you start making them live your story. So having them have their story, be their own highlight of their own story, and follow a path, because the reason everyone comes to jiu-jitsu is vastly different. For me, it was just opportunity, right? It was there. I was training, building a business up, and they're like, well, why don't you just train? It's free. I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. Backtrack, my first exposure ever was with Dave Jacobs back in 2010. And I was right out of high school. I just couldn't afford to stay in training. But, like, outside of that, everyone comes to jiu-jitsu for different reasons. So having that like curated path for them to follow along is huge, and that's what I hope to do with what we're doing to kind of tack along with a lot of the academies is to help add more side quests and or value that person can earn along the way on that main campaign. Not deviate them from it, keep them on it, but maybe improve the experience a little bit more. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Cool.
Are there any? We kind of talked about it earlier, but are there any upcoming projects, things that you're working on, getting ready to so if you go on to like kind of plug your shit, man.
For sure. So two main ways we train currently is most of our clientele is remote, and they're either on our subscription program. So we have an app. All of our clients are on our app, and they're either following our pre-made subscription programs. And when I say pre-made, they're still live. I edit them every single week and I add a new week based on the totality of data points I get from everyone on it each week. So I look at all the data points, look at how everything's going, and then I build the following week based on that. If I'm on week 100 and you sign up today, you're on week 1, I'm always 100 weeks ahead of you. But I'm always editing the previous 100, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then there's what I do with a lot of the competitors and or gym owners, which is the custom, where we'll write everything to the individual, the training, the reps, the sets, the warm-up, the recovery, the nutrition, the timing, the location, etc. So if you tell me, hey, this week I'm going to be at DMA the first 2 days, and then the next 2 days at your gym, and then I'm going to be in Boston for 2 days. Sick. What gym? I'll be at the Marriott. Excellent. Your workouts will now be made exactly to that and where you're going to be, along with your nutrition adapting along the way. And then we take into account the competition schedule if you are a competitor, and we build out and taper you for each one of those predetermined. Now, the thing that we're working on right now, and we're trying to master, and I'll say enough to make it spicy, but not enough for someone to take a bite.
Perfect.
Just keep reeling. I gotta reel them in a little
Get
bit.
that boosh.
Exactly. So we're working on a system right now, because once again, like Knox making this big push for bringing jiu-jitsu into DMV, and so am I. And I want to bring more grapplers into the area, but also help the academies grow. The bigger you guys grow, the better you guys get, the better we get. So one of the things that we're working on is a team training, where we can acquire an entire team, train the entire team. The gym will benefit because we'll help structure the training in 2 tiers, essentially. Tier 1 is where they bring them onto our platform, and we'll manage them and then bring them into our community, where we can then help keep that client retention and help with strategy. On the flip side of that, the teams that want to go to a tier 2 level would tell us, essentially, give us their structure of how they're going to be programming for the next month. Now that we're getting into more curriculum based, it's a little bit easier. It's not like today's armbar, tomorrow's triangle, etc., etc. It's like, all right, we're in this front headlock system for the next 6 weeks. Sick. How many days a week are you really emphasizing that, and how many days a week are you holding comp class? Perfect. Here is a curated plan specific for DMA athletes. Now, anyone who jumps on board, it's a live training. Everything else was pre-recorded episodes. This will be the only live training component for a team that we all have, where whenever someone signs up to the academy, they'll also be adopted into our program automatically through their membership.
So it's something that the academy's adding on.
Yes, and it'll be a partnership with the academy. We'll help with the client retention. It's in our best interest to keep the client in the academy, because that's also how we grow our business. But their training will grow with the academy. So as the academy changes phases, the training will change to complement that. So that way, everyone who signs up to the academy will then get their own app, their own everything. They'll be able to talk with us and the staff, as you see how responsive we've been the last couple of days. They'll be able to reach out to us, talk with us, be in our community, our discords, etc. And then we'll help with that retention and building the program. And then we work really closely with the academy owner or whoever's the one who's writing the program to really develop a system that flows well and doesn't step on the toes of the training of that academy specifically. Because no 2 academies are in the same phase at the same time. So we wanted to create something that was unique to each individual academy. So we start that here in the DMV area, and then branch out once we master it here with our early adopters.
Hell
This is
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
How do people find you? How do they get in touch with you? How do they give you money to
Your credit
train?
card. Yes. So you can hit me up on Instagram, Asim, A-S-I-M, Alpha, Sam, I-M as in Mary, _, NVBC, so Asim _ NVBC. And then you can also hit us up on our gym page, NoVa.Barbell.Club. And then YouTube as well, NoVa Barbell Club. That's another one that we have. And then TikTok is Strong AF. We put up instructionals, technique videos, and we try to give as much free value. So Asim _ NVBC Instagram, NoVa.Barbell.Club Instagram, NoVa Barbell Club YouTube, and Strong AF on TikTok.
Awesome. That's the show, guys. Thanks for listening to Fires Drinking Coffee. Thank you again to Asim for coming out and being on the show with us. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully we have some surprises for you guys in the future with some things that we're working on here at the podcast. So, like, subscribe, and follow.
Any calls to action aside from that we need?
We're
on YouTube.
We're on YouTube. Whatever episode or whatever you like to listen on, go ahead and hit the follow button. That helps us out a lot. Those reviews help as well. Rate it 5 stars. Even if you don't like it, that's fine. Just rate it 5 stars. Tell us what your problem is with us in the in that review, that's fine. But hit that 5 stars, follow. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.